Part 1. Introduction and the Curious Mind. He was a visionary who saw the future not as it was, but as it could be. Steve Jobs didn't just build computers. He built dreams, reshaping how we live, work, and create. From a garage in Silicon Valley to the helm of a $3 trillion company, his life was a testament to innovation, rebellion, and relentless pursuit of excellence. But behind the iPhones, iMacs, and Pixar films was a philosophy forged in curiosity, failure, and resilience. This is the story of Steve Jobs' philosophy, a vision that changed the world, passion that defied limits, and a spirit that never settled. Welcome to Steve Jobs, the philosophy of innovation, vision, and resilience. 1. The Curious Mind. Stephen Paul Jobs was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California. His biological parents, Joan Stiebel and Abdul Fattah Jandali, unmarried students, gave him up for adoption. Paul and Clara Jobs, a working-class couple, welcomed him into their home in Mountain View, a city soon to be known as Silicon Valley. In their garage, young Steve's curiosity sparked. His father, a machinist, taught him to tinker with electronics, taking apart radios and rebuilding them. This wasn't just a hobby. It was a window into how things worked, how they could be made better. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Steve was bright but restless. At Homestead High School in Cupertino, he clashed with teachers, bored by rote learning. He played pranks, questioned authority, and dove into counterculture, growing his hair long and reading Shakespeare and Plato alongside tech manuals. At 13, he met Steve Wozniak, an electronics genius 5 years his senior, introduced by a mutual friend, Bill Fernandez. Woz, like Steve, loved building gadgets. Together, they crafted a blue box, a device to make free phone calls, selling it to classmates, a first taste of entrepreneurship. In 1972, Jobs enrolled at Reed College in Oregon, a liberal arts school known for its free-spirited culture. His parents, despite their modest means, paid the steep tuition, honoring a promise to his biological mother. But Jobs found classes stifling. He dropped out after 6 months, auditing courses that intrigued him, calligraphy, philosophy, while sleeping on friends' floors and scavenging for meals. "I didn't have a dorm room," he later said, "so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food." Calligraphy, with its beauty and precision, left a lasting mark, shaping his obsession with design. In 1974, seeking enlightenment, Jobs traveled to India with college friend Dan Kaki. For 7 months, he wandered, studying Zen Buddhism and embracing simplicity. He returned to California, shaved head and barefoot, a changed man. He took a job at Atari, designing video games, saving money while reconnecting with Wozniak, who was building a computer in his garage. Jobs wasn't an engineer, but he saw potential in Woz's work. Not just a circuit board, but a revolution. His philosophy was forming. Curiosity isn't just asking questions, it's seeing possibilities others miss. In 1976, at 21, Jobs convinced Wozniak to start a company. They called it Apple, inspired by Jobs' time at an apple orchard commune. Selling Jobs' Volkswagen bus and Woz's calculator, they funded the Apple I, a bare-bones computer built in the Jobs family garage. Jobs wasn't the coder. Woz was, but he was the visionary, insisting on user-friendly design and sleek packaging. The Apple I sold 50 units to a local store, a modest start for what would become a global empire. Jobs' curious mind had ignited a spark, one that would redefine technology and culture. Steve Jobs' early years weren't about success. They were about exploration. From tinkering with his father to wandering India, he absorbed ideas, blending art, technology, and spirituality. His curiosity wasn't academic. It was relentless, driven by a hunger to create something meaningful. This was the foundation of his philosophy. Innovation begins with a mind that never stops asking, "What's next?" Part 2. The Rise of Apple and the Fall. 2. The Rise of Apple. In 1976, a garage in Los Altos, California, became the birthplace of a revolution. Steve Jobs, just 21, and Steve Wozniak, 26, were no longer just tinkerers. They were builders of the future. Their creation, the Apple I, was a simple circuit board, but Jobs saw it as more, a tool to empower people. With $1,300 from selling Jobs' van and Woz's calculator, they launched Apple Computer Company, named for its simplicity and nod to Jobs' time at an apple orchard commune. Think different. The Apple I sold modestly, but the Apple II, released in 1977, was a game-changer. Wozniak's engineering genius made a user-friendly personal computer with a keyboard, color display, and floppy disk drive, unheard of at the time. Jobs, the visionary, obsessed over its design, insisting on a sleek case that looked inviting, not intimidating. Priced at $1,298, the Apple II sold thousands, finding homes in schools, offices, and living rooms. By 1980, Apple was worth $1.8 billion, and Jobs, at 25, was a millionaire. Jobs' vision wasn't just about machines, it was about impact. He saw computers as bicycles for the mind, tools to amplify human creativity. He hired marketers, designers, and engineers, building a team to match his ambition. In 1981, Apple began work on the Macintosh, a computer Jobs dreamed would be insanely great. He pushed his team to blend art and technology, inspired by his calligraphy classes at Reed. The Macintosh, launched in 1984, introduced a graphical interface, a mouse, and a friendly design that made computing accessible to millions. The 1984 Super Bowl ad, directed by Ridley Scott, was Jobs' boldest move. Inspired by Orwell's 1984, it portrayed Apple as a rebel against IBM's corporate dominance, with a woman smashing a screen of conformity. The ad aired once, cost $900,000, and became legendary. The Macintosh sold 70,000 units in months, cementing Apple's reputation as an innovator. Jobs' philosophy was clear. Innovation isn't just building products, it's creating experiences that change how people see the world. But success bred tension. Jobs, now 29, was a charismatic leader, but a demanding one. His intensity, pushing for perfection, inspired some and alienated others. Apple's growth strained its culture, and Jobs' vision was about to face its greatest test. The stage was set for a fall, but it was a fall that would shape his resilience. 3. The fall. In 1985, Steve Jobs' world crumbled. Apple was thriving, but its internal battles were fierce. The Macintosh, though revolutionary, was expensive at $2,495 and underpowered, lagging behind IBM's PCs in sales. Jobs' relentless drive, his reality distortion field, as colleagues called it, pushed his team to exhaustion. He clashed with John Sculley, the CEO he'd recruited from Pepsi in 1983, with a famous line, "Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or come with me and change the world?" We don't get a chance to do that many things, and everyone should be really excellent. Sculley, a corporate strategist, prioritized profits over Jobs' perfectionism. Tensions boiled over in 1985 when Jobs, feeling sidelined, attempted to oust Sculley in a boardroom coup. The board sided with Sculley, stripping Jobs of his operational role. At 30, Jobs was forced out of the company he co-founded, betrayed by the empire he built. "I was out, and it was devastating," he later said. "I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have happened to me." Jobs' fall was public and painful. The media portrayed him as a brash dreamer, ousted for his own hubris. He sold most of his Apple shares, keeping just one, and retreated from the spotlight. But Jobs didn't break, he reflected. He traveled, spent time with his daughter Lisa, whom he'd reconnected with, and began to rethink his path. His philosophy took shape in this wilderness. Resilience isn't avoiding failure. It's using it as fuel, a chance to rebuild stronger. In 1985, Jobs founded Next, a company to create high-end computers for education and research. He poured $7 million of his own money into it, betting on his vision. Next computers were sleek, innovative, but expensive and niche. Meanwhile, Jobs bought a small animation studio from George Lucas for $10 million in 1986. He renamed it Pixar, a decision that would redefine his legacy. His fall from Apple wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would test his vision and prove his resilience. Jobs' ousting taught him humility, but not surrender. He later said, "The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again." His philosophy of resilience began to shine. Failure isn't defeat. It's a detour, a chance to learn, to create, to come back better than before. Part 3. The Wilderness Years and the Creative Spark. 4. The Wilderness Years. In 1985, Steve Jobs was cast out from Apple, the company he built from a garage. At 30, he was a public failure. His ousting splashed across headlines. The betrayal stung. John Scully, the CEO he'd handpicked, and Apple's board had turned against him. "I felt like I'd been punched in the gut," Jobs later said. But in this exile, he found freedom. The wilderness years, as he called them, were not a retreat, they were a reinvention. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. Jobs didn't wallow. He invested his energy in 2 bold ventures. First, he founded Next in 1985, pouring $7 million of his own money into a company to build advanced computers for education and research. Next was Jobs Unleashed. Free from Apple's bureaucracy, he obsessed over every detail. The Next Cube, launched in 1988, was a sleek black box with a groundbreaking operating system. Next Step. It was too expensive for mass markets, priced at $6,500 and sold only a few thousand units. But its technology was visionary, influencing future systems like Mac OS. Jobs' time away from Apple was also personal. He reconnected with his daughter Lisa Brennan Jobs, born in 1978 to his high school girlfriend Kristen Brennan. Though he'd initially denied paternity, he grew closer to Lisa, welcoming her into his life. In 1987, he met Laureen Powell, a Stanford MBA student, at a lecture he gave. They married in 1991 in a Zen Buddhist ceremony, settling in Palo Alto. Their children, Reed, Aaron, and Eve, grounded Jobs, softening his edges. He later said, "Laureen and my family saved me." The wilderness taught Jobs humility. At Apple, his intensity had burned bridges. At Next, he learned to listen, to delegate. He surrounded himself with brilliant minds, like Avi Tevanian, who crafted Next software. Jobs' philosophy evolved. Resilience isn't just bouncing back. It's growing through failure, finding purpose in the unknown. The wilderness wasn't punishment. It was preparation for a comeback no one saw coming. Next struggled financially, but Jobs' vision never wavered. He bet on quality over quantity, believing the right technology would find its place. His exile was a crucible, forging a leader who balanced passion with pragmatism. The wilderness years were quiet, but they were building the foundation for a revolution that would shake the world. 5. The Creative Spark. While Next was Jobs' technological gamble, his other venture lit a creative fire. In 1986, Jobs bought the Graphics Group, a small division of Lucasfilm, for $10 million. He renamed it Pixar, a nod to its pixel-pushing technology. At first, Pixar made animation software and short films to showcase it, struggling to turn a profit. Jobs funded it out of pocket, losing millions, but he saw potential, not just in tech but in storytelling. Creativity is just connecting things. Pixar's team, led by John Lasseter and Ed Catmull, was a blend of artists and engineers. Jobs, though not a filmmaker, gave them creative freedom, a contrast to his hands-on style at Next. In 1986, Pixar's short film Luxo Jr., featuring a hopping desk lamp, charmed audiences at SIGGRAPH. It was a glimpse of what was possible. Jobs poured another $50 million into Pixar over the years, betting on its vision despite skepticism from others. The breakthrough came in 1995. Pixar released Toy Story, the world's first feature-length computer-animated film, in partnership with Disney. Directed by Lasseter, it was a cultural phenomenon, grossing $192 million domestically and $361 million worldwide. The story of Woody and Buzz Lightyear captured hearts, blending humor, heart, and technical brilliance. Jobs, as Pixar CEO, negotiated a deal that made him a billionaire when Pixar went public in 1995, with shares soaring. Pixar's success wasn't just financial, it was philosophical. Jobs learned that great products, whether computers or films, start with great stories. He later said, "Pixar taught me to trust the process, to let creative people do their best work." Films like A Bug's Life, 1998, and Toy Story 2, 1999, followed, cementing Pixar's reputation as a storytelling powerhouse. Jobs' role was less about directing and more about enabling, clearing obstacles, fostering a culture of excellence. The creative spark at Pixar reignited Jobs' belief in interdisciplinary innovation. He saw parallels between animation and technology. Both required precision, passion, and a touch of magic. His philosophy deepened. Vision isn't just seeing the future, it's creating it, connecting art and science to make something timeless. Pixar was Jobs' proof that even in failure's shadow, a single spark could light a legacy. Part 4. The Return and the Revolution. 6. The Return. In 1996, Steve Jobs was a man transformed, but his story with Apple was far from over. Apple, the company he co-founded, was on the brink of collapse. Mismanagement and fierce competition from Microsoft had left it bleeding cash, with a market share below 5%. In a twist of fate, Apple acquired Next for $429 million, not for its computers, but for its advanced operating system, Next Step. Jobs, at 41, returned to Apple as an advisor in 1997, a prodigal son with a vision to save his creation. Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits, the rebels. Jobs found Apple bloated, too many products, no focus. Within months, he became interim CEO, slashing projects and laying off thousands to streamline the company. His intensity, once divisive, was now a lifeline. He rekindled Apple's rebellious spirit, drawing on lessons from Next and Pixar. Next Step became the foundation for Mac OS, revitalizing Apple software. Jobs' philosophy was clear. Innovation thrives on simplicity. Focus on what matters and make it extraordinary. In 1998, Jobs unveiled the iMac, a translucent, colorful all-in-one computer. Priced at $1,299, it wasn't just a machine, it was a statement. Its sleek design, inspired by Jobs' love for minimalism, stood out in a sea of beige PCs. The iMac sold 800,000 units in its first year, pulling Apple back from bankruptcy. Jobs, now permanent CEO, was no longer the brash dreamer of his youth. He was a disciplined visionary, blending art, technology, and ruthless focus. Jobs' return wasn't just about products, it was about culture. He fostered a team of loyal innovators, like Johnny Ive, Apple's design chief, and Tim Cook, who streamlined operations. His reality distortion field pushed them to achieve the impossible. He'd reject designs with a single word, crap, demanding perfection. Yet his passion inspired. As he later said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." The return marked Jobs' redemption. He took a $1 salary, betting on Apple's future with stock options. By 2000, Apple was profitable at stock rising. Jobs' wilderness years had forged a leader who could balance creativity with pragmatism, setting the stage for a revolution that would redefine technology. 7. The Revolution. Steve Jobs didn't just save Apple. He reinvented it, and with it, the world. In 2001, he launched the iPod, a sleek music player with a click wheel and 1,000 songs in your pocket. Priced at $399, it wasn't the first MP3 player, but it was the best. Jobs' genius was in the ecosystem. The iTunes Store, launched in 2003, made buying music legal and simple at 99 cents per song. By 2007, Apple had sold 100 million iPods, dominating 70% of the market. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. The iPod wasn't just a gadget. It was a cultural shift. It made music personal, portable, and stylish, with white earbuds as a status symbol. Jobs' obsession with design, clean lines, intuitive interfaces set a new standard. He didn't follow market trends. He created them. His philosophy shone. Vision isn't reacting to the present. It's shaping the future, making the complex simple. In 2007, Jobs unveiled the iPhone, a device that combined a phone, an iPod, and an internet communicator. Introduced at Macworld in San Francisco, it stunned the world. With a touch screen, no physical keyboard, and a single button, it was a gamble. Priced at $499, it sold 6 million units in its first year. By 2010, Apple had sold 90 million iPhones, overtaking Nokia and BlackBerry. The App Store, launched in 2008, turned the iPhone into a platform, spawning an app economy. Jobs' revolution extended beyond hardware. In 2010, the iPad redefined tablets, blending portability with power. It sold 15 million units in its first year, creating a new category. Apple's retail stores, opened in 2001, became temples of innovation, with glass facades and Genius bars. By 2011, Apple had 317 stores, generating $14 billion annually. Jobs' attention to detail, down to the store's sandstone tiles, made every touchpoint iconic. His leadership was relentless. He'd sketch ideas on napkins, reject prototypes for a single flaw, and inspire his team with impossible deadlines. Critics called him tyrannical, but loyalists like Ive and Cook saw his passion as transformative. Jobs' philosophy was uncompromising. Excellence isn't negotiable. It's the only path to greatness. By 2011, Apple was the world's most valuable company, worth $350 billion, proof that vision could triumph over odds. The revolution wasn't just technological, it was philosophical. Jobs showed that products could be art, that design could be soulful, that innovation could change lives. His return to Apple was a masterclass in resilience, proving that even after a fall, a visionary could rise to reshape the world. Part 5. The Legacy of Jobs and the Eternal Vision. 8. The Legacy of Jobs. Steve Jobs' life was a comet, brief, brilliant, and transformative. On October 5, 2011, at 56, he passed away from pancreatic cancer, diagnosed in 2003. The world paused. Tributes poured in, from Silicon Valley to Shanghai, from Tim Cook to Barack Obama. Apple stores became shrines, fans leaving flowers and iPhones in his honor. But Jobs' legacy wasn't in the morning. It was in the world he reshaped. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Jobs' impact on technology is unmatched. Apple, under his vision, became the world's most valuable company, reaching a $3 trillion valuation by 2022. The iPhone, launched in 2007, redefined communication, selling over 2.3 billion units by 2025. The iPod made music personal. The iPad created the tablet market. The Mac set design standards. Apple's ecosystem, iTunes, the App Store, iCloud, changed how we consume media, work, and connect. By 2011, Apple had 317 retail stores in 11 countries, generating $14 billion annually, each a testament to Jobs' obsession with experience. Beyond Apple, Jobs' Pixar revolutionized animation. Films like Toy Story, 1995, Finding Nemo, 2003, and Up, 2009, earned $15 billion globally and 11 Oscars by 2025. Pixar's storytelling, blending heart and technology, reflected Jobs' belief that creativity and innovation are inseparable. His next operating system, though a commercial failure, powered Mac OS, influencing modern computing. Jobs' legacy is also cultural. He made technology beautiful, intuitive, human. His Think Different campaign celebrated rebels. Einstein, Gandhi, Kahlo, mirroring his own defiance. He inspired entrepreneurs, from Elon Musk to Mark Zuckerberg, to dream big and take risks. Yet his flaws, his temper, his perfectionism humanized him. He wasn't a saint. He was a visionary who pushed boundaries, often at personal cost. Jobs' philosophy lives on. Apple, led by Tim Cook, continues his focus on design and innovation. The Steve Jobs Theater at Apple Park, opened in 2017, is a monument to his vision. His life inspires dreamers to challenge the status quo, to see failure as a stepping stone, to create with purpose. Jobs showed that innovation isn't just invention. It's leaving the world better than you found it. 9. The Eternal Vision. Steve Jobs didn't just build products, he built a philosophy. His life was a masterclass in curiosity, resilience, and vision. From a garage in Silicon Valley to a global empire, he faced failure, exile, and illness, yet never stopped creating. His story is a roadmap for anyone daring to dream, to defy, to make a dent in the universe. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Jobs' lessons are timeless. Be curious. His early tinkering, his Reed College calligraphy course, his trip to India shaped Apple's soul. He saw connections others missed, blending art and technology to create the iPhone, the Mac, Pixar stories. Curiosity isn't passive. It's a relentless pursuit of what's next. Embrace failure. Jobs' ousting from Apple in 1985 was a public humiliation, but it fueled Next and Pixar. His return in 1997 turned a dying company into a titan. Failure, he showed, is not the end. It's a chance to learn, to rebuild, to come back stronger. As he said in his 2005 Stanford commencement address, sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. Lead with vision. Jobs' reality distortion field bent reality to his will, inspiring teams to achieve the impossible. He didn't follow market research. He created markets. The iPod, iPhone, and iPad weren't demanded. They were imagined. Vision, for Jobs, was seeing what others couldn't, then making it real. Jobs' life wasn't perfect. He strained relationships, pushed employees to their limits, and battled health issues in silence. But he faced his flaws, grew through them, and left a legacy that transcends technology. His philosophy is a call to action. Create with passion, live with purpose, and never settle for ordinary. As you face your own challenges, carry Jobs' lessons. When doubt creeps in, stay curious, explore, tinker, or dream. When failure strikes, use it. Build something new. When the world says impossible, see the possible and make it real. Because like Steve Jobs, you have the power to shape the future one idea at a time. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Steve Jobs' philosophy. If his story inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories of vision, resilience, and human triumph. And until next time, stay hungry, stay foolish, and change the world.